Welcome to the Life podcast.
So listen, not a lot of people know about the economy, right? Not a lot of Americans are familiar with economics. It's another aspect that the school system has pretty much failed to teach us. It's incredible that they're willing to teach us calculus in high school, but they won't teach you about finances, taxes, real estate, the economy, right? In order to truly and honestly know about economics, you have to literally go to undergrad and not just go to undergrad, but be a business major or an econ major. These are the only set of people, really, or accounting major, maybe. These are the only set of people that actually understand economics. So, not a lot of people understand economics, but it's extremely important because it allows you to do a number of things. And one of those things is when you're able to understand the economy, understand the market, you're able to make smarter choices with your personal life, your spending habits, but also from a professional standpoint, you're able to make greater business decisions because you understand what's to come. And this is not necessarily a sense of being like a mind reader or anything like that, but still you're able to make a smarter choice. It's just like any research project that you do. When you do more research, you have a greater understanding. You don't know everything, you can't answer every question, but the more you know, the more you're able to align yourself to make a great decision. So first, I wanted to go over an article that came out recently. This is from CNBC, and the title is Biden Signs Debt Ceiling Increase, Preventing First Ever U.S. Default. We don't own our money. The United States and Americans, you don't own your dollar bill. It's a private dollar. That's why, if you look at your dollar carefully, it's Federal Reserve note. It's not United States note, it's Federal Reserve, which is a private bank. And you can look into the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 if you don't believe me or whatever the case. That was the bill that officially, um, you know, allowed the Federal Reserve to print out dollar bills for us and so forth. And then we pay back the Federal Reserve with interest. So if the Federal Reserve wants a dollar, or if the United States government is asking for a dollar to supply its citizens, the Federal Reserve prints that and basically says, okay, great, you owe us a dollar plus interest. So they don't want just that dollar back. They want a dollar, whatever the interest rate might be. So it could be a dollar 10 cents, a dollar 50 cents, whatever the case. It might be $2. But anyways, this article was written December 16, 2021, very recent. So key points. President Joe Biden signed a debt ceiling increase into law, preventing the first ever U.S. default. The measure lifts the government's borrowing limit by $2.5 trillion, which is expected to allow the U.S. to cover its obligations into 2013. And lastly, Biden signed the bill a day after the Treasury's estimated date when it would be run out of tools to pay the country's bills. So, President Joe Biden signed a debt ceiling increase into law Thursday, ensuring the US will not default on its debt for the first time ever. This is how much money we've been pulling out. Like, we almost defaulted. It's insane. The country inched close to economic peril. Biden signed the borrowing limit a day after the date that the Treasury Department estimated it would run out of tools to keep paying the country's bills. So if you're wondering about tax hikes, why are things so expensive, tariffs, all that stuff, it's because of situations like this, where your government is having issues paying back what it's supposed to pay back because, well, quite frankly, they're being very irresponsible. Let's just have a real conversation. So Congress sent the legislation which raises the debt ceiling by 2.5 trillion to Biden early Wednesday. It is expected to allow the government to cover its obligations into 2023. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned failure to increase the borrowing limit could lead to a recession and job losses around the country. But you can finish this article. Here we go. It's by Jacob Pramuk. I've never seen that last name. Jacob Pramuk. So you can look that up. It's on NBC. Here's the title. You got it, right? Okay. This is the important page that I wanted to show you. This is incredible. I highly recommend you look into this yourself. If you're lucky, I might paste the link in wherever I post this. So this is by the balance. So US national debt by year, right? How the debt compares to GDP plus major events that impacted it. This is by Kimberly Ahmaded. I've never seen that last name either. Wow. Ahmaded, October 11, 2021. So these are very recent articles, very recent information. So ironically, they start from 1929, right? So this is the end of the year, fiscal year. This is the debt in billions rounded, right? So this column is how much debt we're in. Debt to GDP ratio. This column basically signifies how much debt we pulled out, but also how much money we were able to produce. So I'm not an economist. I don't know everything. But what I can tell you is the lower the number, the lower this percentage, the better a country is doing. And then basically this is the major event that may have led to the debt to GDP ratio being bad, or the amount of debt that we intook, right? So like, for example, the pandemic, we had to pull out 2 trillion to keep the economy going. We'll look into that right now as we speak. So 1929, we are in $17 billion of debt. Okay, so we're scrolling and we're scrolling and we're scrolling, and you can stop the video anytime if you want to look. We're not going to go over every year, right? But okay, boom, we're in World War II, right? We decided to join World War II, 1941, I believe. Yes, enter the war, and boom, we got 49 billion, right? So we're scrolling. Now, as you can see, this was a very expensive war, right? You see it shoot up. So boom, now we're in $201 billion of debt. As you can see, the GDP, the debt ratio shot up drastically, right? That's what war does. So, okay, we're going up, we're going up, we're going up. You see the debt going. But as you can see, each year it's only going up by a couple of billion, which is like normal. But as we keep scrolling, we keep scrolling, here we are, we're in the 60s, and the debt really has only increased by 100 billion over the last 20 years. So 100 billion over the last 20 years, right? This is civil rights, blah, blah, blah. We're going. Things are quite well. Now, I'm going to stop at 1971. If you don't know about 1971, basically wage price controls. This is basically saying that Nixon had taken the dollar out of the gold standard. So our Federal Reserve note used to be backed by gold. So the amount of gold that the country had in its treasury, that's how many dollars you can print out. Nixon took this off. Now, I'm presuming it was for the war, the Vietnam War. As you see, he took office in 1969. So I'm presuming this was because of the Vietnam War, and we just had to print money. Basically, when you take a dollar off of an item like gold and it's not backed by anything, from this point, it's not worth anything. It literally is not worth anything. It's psychological. You're the only one that makes the dollar bill worth anything. So just keep that in mind, right? So pay attention now to these numbers, because we're in war now, and these things are striking up now. Watch this. So we're going. Let's just say 1980. Look at the difference between 1971, right? 1971 and then 1980. The US had pulled out just about double the debt that it was in. Now you see the commas here, right? In the 80s. Now we're in trillions, right? Now we're in trillions of dollars of debt. And this is when Nixon came in, the whole war on drugs thing completely blown out of proportion, and obviously subjecting to eliminate Black and brown bodies and shove them in prisons. Now remember, at the beginning, 1980, we were still in $1 billion. Now, 1990, We are at 3 trillion. The US had pulled out $2 trillion of debt. All right, so you see this decade, right? We're scrolling through. The US is entering wars. Here we go. We're in just about the Clinton era, and we got 5 trillion. So that's another 2 trillion that we're tacking on. As you can see, the US is accumulating more debt. But the reason why you see the debt to GDP ratio being somewhat stable is because the population is growing now, right? By this time, the 80s and 90s, the US population growing, which means more jobs, we're accumulating more revenue, more GDP. At the start of 2000, this is the year 2000, the United States was in $5.6 trillion of debt, right? Here's the third column, right? The debt to GDP ratio is 55%, right? Pay attention. This gets horrendous. This is the year 2000. This was 21 years ago. Yes. Now, as we scroll through these years and we see George W. Bush come in and take over and get in a war that costed us trillions of dollars. Look how much money in debt we're in by the time Barack Obama gets in office. We're in $10 trillion in just 10 years. We are in double the debt. When you just saw previously, this wasn't necessarily the circumstance before the 70s. So we've been doubling our debt astronomically. Now, go in and people love Barack Obama, he's black and all that jazzy stuff. I could care less about that stuff. I'm all about the what are you doing, right? What are the actual policies that you're passing? Look, by the time Barack Obama gets out of office, 2016, we are in $19.5 trillion of debt. George W. Bush, and Barack Obama both doubled the United States debt within their terms. This is remember, the year 2000, we're in 5 trillion. 5 trillion. And now, 16 years later, we're in 19.5 trillion. We have almost quadrupled our debt in 16 years. That's how much we spent on the war. You tell me how much that's worth it. Now we got this orange guy in the office, right? We have obviously COVID come into place, jack up things, right? Look at where we're at. And let's just go to 2021 just to add in this new sleepy guy. We are at $28 trillion in debt. Now, I wasn't talking about the debt to GDP ratio. Look how much it's gone up. It has basically doubled in percentage since George W. Bush. So what does this mean? This means we're not accumulating GDP. We're just borrowing, and not producing any production. Gross domestic product. How much are you producing as a country? We haven't been producing anything. But look, 2020, we were in the year 2000, we were in $5 trillion of debt. We are now in $28 trillion of debt. And keep in mind, we're going to hit 30 extremely soon. Congress is still passing bills that are worth trillions of dollars. It's insane. You have to understand that there's consequences to these things. It's not just, hey, yeah, we could pull out as much money as we want, blah, blah, blah. That's not how that works. That is not how that works. It's very dangerous, the position that we're in. So, like I said, I'm not an economist. I don't know what the answer is. I just wanted to put that in your face and let you know we're not necessarily heading in the best direction as a country right now. Save your money, make good, smart business moves, and take care of your family, because 2022 is going to be a rocky road economically and financially. So all I can say is take care of yourselves. Peace to you.